Hi, my name's Cameron, and today we're doing a clip on installing a point pod into an existing benchtop. This is a job that we recommend for a tradesman only. It's not a DIY job. So in preparation for this job, we have made a decision about where we want to locate the point pod in the existing bench. In this instance, it's behind a set of drawers. So we've taken the drawers out and we've cut underneath the kitchen carcass the correct size hole so that we can mount our flange underneath the stone. And we've measured and double checked that our point pod is going to be located inside the cabinet. And then once we were 100% on that position, we took our collar that comes in the point pod box and we used that to mark our hole, like so. So after that hole is marked, we're going to double check those measurements again to make sure that we're in the right spot. Yep, that's all good. Yep. And in preparation underneath the cabinet, we've put a towel down there just in case any water comes through when we're drilling our hole. So next we're going to set our drill up. So this is a standard drill press that's been cut down to be used specifically for this job. We're going to line that hole saw, it's a 100mm hole saw. We're going to line that hole saw up with our mark we've just made. And we're going to clamp the drill down onto the stone. If you haven't got a position where you can clamp your drill down, you can use a rubber mat under your drill press and that'll stop your drill from bouncing around over the bench top. So we'll just double check that. Now because this is marble and it's a soft natural stone, we're going to also use a plywood template as well. So we're going to put that right over the hole. Double check that's in the right position. So we're going to put that in place and clamp that down in place as well. So what I've also done underneath inside the cabinet is I've put a temporary prop under there with a flat piece of plywood to hold the offcut, because obviously we need to keep the offcut as part of the installation. So when we drill, we're going to make a bit of a mess. We're going to be using water with the hole saw to cut through the stone. All right, so we're going to start our drilling and see how we go. We're going to just mop up as we go. And it's really slow and steady cutting through the marble. All right, so we've drilled that. We're going to take the drill out of the way. Take our template out of the way. And see what the hole looks like. Yeah, looks good. So when we take our drill out of the way, because we've got that prop underneath, we can just pop our offcut out there, and obviously we're going to reuse that when we install the point pod. Okay, so now we've got our hole drilled and our offcut, which is integral to our installation. The hole drilled really well. We have no chips in the offcut, but we do have a little bit on the bottom of the offcut we need to file away. So I'm just taking a file, I'm just going to file that off like that. If it doesn't file, if you have a harder stone, you can always just use a grinder and grind it off, being very careful not to damage your offcut. So we've got that filed down now. That's all looking good, ready to go. So we're just going to set that aside, and we're going to take our collar, which goes in the outer hole. We're going to silicone that in place. After that, we're going to wait for the silicone to go off, and then we're going to install our flange underneath the stone. All right, so we've put our silicone around the outside of the hole there. I'm going to get that set up so that the top is nice and flush with the stone. Needs to come up there a little bit. So I've just got a prop underneath in my cabinet that I'm going to prop up and get that set up to the right height. So just placing this in to get it the right height, we put the collar in the hole, and I've just got a little prop underneath in the cabinet that's going to get this sitting up at the right height for us. A little bit of mucking around in that, but we've got that sitting perfect now. We're going to let that silicone go off for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it takes, and then we'll come back and we're going to glue the flange to the underside of the stone. Okay, so now we have our collar siliconed in place. Our next job is to glue our flange up underneath the stone. So we're going to take a two-part epoxy here that's designed to work with the stone. We're going to take half, and you have about a 5-minute working time with this stuff. So we're going to mix it up, and we've Yeah, we have about 5 minutes to work with that. It's very, very thick and gluggy, but when it sets, it actually sets harder than the stone. So if something breaks, it'll be the stone breaking before the epoxy. All right, so that's mixed up there. I'm going to take that and just butter it onto our flange. And we've got the holes in the flange that help key the glue in. So we just completely butter it all the way around, like so. And then I'm going to go underneath the stone, mounts up around our collar, and I've got a prop under there that's going to push it up hard underneath the stone. I might just take a little bit off that because we don't want any going internally. So just butter that down a bit. All right. Okay. So we sit that up in place nicely, and we leave that for 10 minutes to go off. Okay, so now we've got the flange glued to the underside of the stone. We're ready to put our point pot in. We're going to drop it down from the top, and it comes down, and then we'll just set our height with the top of our cup set up with the top of the stone. So the other option is we can install from underneath the stone, which is what we're going to do here. So we remove the top. That just has a couple of screws on the underside of this cup. I've taken those screws out already, so obviously the unit's got to be in the up position to take that off. So I've taken that cup off, and whilst I've got that cup off too, I'll just show you what we do to make sure our stone is sitting nice and flush with the top of the cup. So we've got a couple of height adjuster screws in here, so we can get them up to the right height, get our stone sitting in so it's nice and flush, and then when it comes to silicone or glue that stone in, that's all, we know that's going to be the perfect height. So we're going to, the other thing to keep an eye on is we want to get the orientation of our sockets right. So the sockets are on the opposite side to the screws. So the sockets are over here, so we make sure we orientate our sockets to the client's needs. So I'm going to install this from underneath. Once we install in, we've got a Jubilee clip that holds everything in place. Okay, so I've just done that up fairly loosely for the moment whilst we work on this and get our heights right. So I've plugged the unit in. We're going to lift the unit up, and then we're going to unplug the unit again, and we're going to screw our cup onto the top there to get that all set up in place. So do that up. There's another screw on the other side here. And that way the cup is removable. So if you ever wanted to swap the unit out for a shorter unit or a unit with a different socket configuration, we can take the cup off and put the cup on the new unit. So we're going to plug that back in again. We're going to drop the unit down and get our heights right. Alright, so just pushing inside that should activate it. We go down. Oh, we're pretty close to right. We just need to come up about 3 mil. Okay, so we get that sitting up nicely, sitting flush with a nice margin for the hole. Tighten that up. And that looks good. Sit our stone in, make sure we can line that up. Push that. Comes up nicely. Go back down. Perfect. All right. Now it's time to glue the stone insert in the top, and we've completed our point pod retrofit installation. I'm going to take this bit of stone out of the top here. Alright, so we got that in place. We're going to take that back down and basically we're going to silicon the stone into place. Alright, so we got that full there. Just going to set our stone. We've got our height adjusted so we know we're right. Going to set our stone in there like that. Just swing it around to make sure that we've got our stone lines lined up nicely, which we do, and we're good to go. So that's the installation of the point pod for a retrofit.